Well, it's a couple minutes after 12. I think I'll get us started. I'm trying to kind of watch everybody as they log in. You may notice that my background is a little different today. It's because I've got this on my desktop now rather than my iPad, with the thought being that I can fit more shiny faces on my screen at one time. But I'm not quite as adept at maneuvering in this environment yet, so we'll see how this goes. But welcome everybody to October, and the first meeting of October for the Rotary Club of Wausau. I hope everybody has enjoyed a nice fall weekend that we've got. So we've got a good agenda today. I think the first item we probably need to cover, Debbie, is birthdays and anniversaries, right? Given this first day of the month.
Sounds good.
I will walk through. So October birthdays. Scott Mashinsky is on the 6th. I don't see Scott on. Sean Wright is here. He's on the 7th, coming up. Happy birthday, Sean. Soon to come. Pat Snyder on the 10th, Andrew Edwards on the 18th, Ann Herda Rapp on the 28th, and Ark Romine on the 29th. Happy birthday to all. I will spare you my singing efforts. Club anniversaries, Andrew Edwards and John Overland, 1 year. Corleen O'Malley, I don't see if Corleen's on or not, is at 19, and Bill Tian at 31 years. So congrats to all. Okay, other announcements that we've got. Debbie, I'll start with you. Anything on your mind that you think we need to communicate right now?
Just a reminder that if you want to, I'm sure Dennis will want to bring this up as well, but we've got that Pints for Polio coming up. You received the email last week. My apologies, for some reason, only some of you got the first email, I found out. So I resent it last Friday. Take a look at that, order your sweatshirts or t-shirts, whichever you want, and help support the polio program.
Yeah, thanks, Debbie. I was going to speak to this as well, and you know, Dennis can certainly add in. I think he was able to make some comments about it last week when I had to miss, and thank you again to Kelly for covering for me last week. But so we've got a kind of a small work group that's between the Early Birds Club and our club that's organizing this Pints for Polio event at Bull Falls. It's going to happen on Saturday, October 24th from 4 o'clock to 6:30. That happens to be World Polio Day. There will be live music at Bull Falls Brewery. You're welcome to attend. Youth Rotars, not you, Dr. Peck, so no. But virtually anyone can attend, I'm sure. So, and the hope is that, you know, if you're comfortable and want to go at the event, I think they're going to have I'm not sure if they're going to have the outside tent still up, but there's a band there, and you know, every pint that is purchased during that time frame will generate $1 towards the Polio Plus Rotary International Foundation for Polio Plus. These dollars are also being matched by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. So again, the more we can raise as a club, along with the Morning Club, all those dollars get matched by Bill Gates and his foundation. So could be a really nice event, and I really think this has the potential to become an annual kind of event, hopefully post-pandemic, when Rotarians and others can get together and enjoy some fellowship and raise some money for a good cause. So there are lots of ways you can participate. You can go to Bull Falls. You can do it virtually. You can buy a T-shirt. Sean Wright has been kind enough to agree to be our MC for the event. So we're looking forward to that. There are some door prizes, you know, Northwoods Lodge you can stay at. If you win the door prize, you can register for those kinds of things. There's some auction items and those kinds of things. So Dennis, I've probably missed some things, or Sean, if you've gotten any insight in terms of what you've got, but hopefully there'll be a good showing from our club in terms of, you know, at least buying t-shirts or contributing in some way, shape, or form, even if you're not comfortable. And I don't blame anyone in this environment for not being comfortable going to Bull Falls on that day. So October 24th from 4 to 6:30. Put it down on your calendar if you could. So questions on that, or Dennis, things I've forgotten?
Hey, Matt, I do have a question. So if I went down to Bull Falls and I bought a 4-pack or 6-pack, whatever they sell, and I bought it today, does that get credited toward the
I don't think it does necessarily, Patrick, but I bet someone with your skills at persuasion, if you talk to Mike Zamzo and said, hey, can you put this towards the polio thing, he'd probably do it. He's been very, very accommodating, you know, and with all the change and everything else. So so I wouldn't, you know, I would encourage you to give it a shot, Patrick.
All right, maybe I'll swing down there and try.
Worst case scenario is you got to buy another 6-pack on the 24th. So that can't be all right.
My understanding from the meeting is that it was a no. It was only going to come out during that 2 hours. But you know, with some of our Rotarians who cannot make it on that day, who are leaving town like 2 or 3 days before for a fishing trip, I'm sure if they stop in before they leave town to buy, you know, a couple of 6-pack of beer or something and say, please put this towards the Pint for Polio, I think he might be okay to that.
Okay. I see that Dennis has sent a note to, in the chat feature to everybody where you can order the t-shirts and I think there are other things too, sweatshirts and that sort of thing as well. So take a look at that. Everybody needs one of those, I'm sure. So, okay, we probably need to move on. Any other questions quick before we do? All right, other announcements. Any Rotarians have at this point in time?
Matt, this is John Townsend. I know Dennis brought this up last week, and maybe Debbie did too, but this coming Saturday, October 10th, is our Rotary District Assembly at, I think it's 9 till noon. And it's an opportunity to, of course, network with other Rotarians, but also to learn more about creative ideas of what clubs are doing during these tough pandemic times. So I'd encourage people to dial in. It's certainly a lot easier than driving to events like we used to do. So I hope you will consider that. It's also zero cost, which is great.
Yeah, I agree, John. I think I know I'm signed up. I think there are some others that have signed up as well. So hopefully we'll have good participation from our club and learn a little bit more about what's going on at a district level. So thank you for that. Any other announcements right now? Okay, Dr. Peck, I think I can turn over the floor to you to introduce our youth Rotars for the month of October.
All right, thank you, Mr. President.
Okay.
Outstanding. Hey, it's a great day to be a Rotarian. And today we have our October youth Rotars with us. And I'm right now going to go school by school and allow each youth Rotar to introduce themselves, the school they're at, what they're involved in at the school, co-curricular wise, what they're involved in within the community, and then, excuse me, what your future plans are. So we're going to begin with Newman Catholic High School, and leading off today, the month of October, will be Brennan Shaughnessy and Stevie Samuel. So Brennan, why don't you go first?
Hi, my name is Brennan Shaughnessy. I attend Newman Catholic High School. I play football and baseball. I'm a part of National Honor Society, Student Ambassadors, Key Club, and Pep Club. My future plans, I plan on attending UMD, so Minnesota Duluth, for business.
Outstanding, Brennan. Leading off, that was a home run. Nice job. Great model for everyone to follow. Okay, next we have Stevie Samuels.
Hi, my name is Steve Samuels. I'm a senior at New. I am in National Honor Society, Key Club, Ambassadors, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, and I play softball and volleyball. I plan on going to college for either speech pathology or interior design, and possibly at U of M Twin Cities.
Outstanding. Hey, and it's really great to have both of you with us today. Okay, now we're going to move over to Lumberjack High, and Max, we'll start with you.
All right, so I'm Max Novak, and I go to Wausau East. And during the school year, I do a lot of schoolwork, and then I play basketball and tennis, and that stuff keeps me pretty busy. And then during the summer, I'm a full-time lifeguard at Memorial Pool on the southeast side of Wausau. And after high school, I want to attend the UW-Madison and be in their engineer program and major in chemical engineering.
All right, thank you. Great to have you with us. Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah Rotanowong. I play tennis and lacrosse for Wausau East. I'm part of Global Health Collaborations, which is a club dedicated to like raising money and raising awareness for like poverty-stricken countries. So last year our focus was Bangladesh. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I help out at the Boys and Girls Club in my local parish, and then I play piano at the conservatory. But I guess my future plans? Yeah, my future plans. I'm kind of like, I'm really interested in medicine and science. And so I'm not really I don't really know what my major would be, but I really like chemistry. So maybe chemistry at either Madison or University of Minnesota Twin Cities.
Outstanding. Welcome, both of you. Great to have you with us today. All right, we're going to move south to DC Everest High School. All right, so Lucas Allen and Hannah Studeman are with us. Hannah, why don't you begin?
Hi, my name is Hannah Studeman. I go to DC Everest. Some co-curriculars I'm involved in at my school are basketball and I run track. And in the community, I help out with Payne's Promise whenever I get the chance. And then this summer, I was an intern at Abbey Bank in the for loans, the loan department. My plans after high school are, I'm not sure what college I want to go to yet, but I'm really interested in dentistry and a PA of some sort, so either Madison or Marquette.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Hannah. All right, Lucas.
All right. Hi, I'm Lucas Allen. I go to Everest. I'm on the math team. I run cross country and I play tennis. And after school, I'm leaning towards Madison, probably for engineering, maybe math.
That's great, Lucas. Thanks for joining us today. Both of you, thanks for being here from DC Everest. All right, let's swing it over to Northland Lutheran High School, where we have Ellie Croct and Sabrina Zart representing their school here at Rotary this month. So Sabrina, why don't we start with you?
Okay, so I am in volleyball and track. And in track, I do running and jumping. I'm also in basketball. And then I'm the secretary for National Honor Society and for my class. And then I help out at my church a lot. And then also with some like other extra like blood drives or run walks and stuff like that. And my career is kind of undecided. I'm interested in a couple different things like arts or marketing or like health science or something like that, but I'm not really sure where I want to go or exactly that.
Okay, thank you very much, Sabrina. Ellie.
And I'm Ellie Crock. I'm from Northland as well. I play volleyball, jump and track, and I'm also in National Honor Society, and I'm a president of student council, and I do yearbook as well. For the community, I was in a 2-year leadership program with WHIPS, and then also I do a lot with the run walks and stuff like that. And then my future, I want to do something with agronomy or forestry, wildlife ecology, so stuff with nature.
Excellent. Great. Well, thank you both very much for being here today. Okay. All right. Great. Thank you very much, Northland Lutheran High School, for being here. Okay, our last high school stop. Oop.
Did you guys hear that? Ellie went right after me. Did you hear Ellie? Sorry.
Yep, there seems to be a little technical difficulty
Our
here.
internet is being really weird.
Yeah, that's okay. And can you hear us?
Yeah, it's slow for us.
Okay.
Did you hear what we said or no?
Yeah, we could make it out. It was just very strong out. But yeah, I think we could. I could. I know you want to major in agronomy, so. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. Now we're going to move over to Wausau West High School, and we have Annalise Wagers and Tim Deloy. Annalise, why don't you go first from West?
Hi, I'm Annalise. I go to West. At school, I'm on the swim team and I run track in the spring. I'm a magazine editor and I work with our yearbook. And I'm pretty heavily involved in student council, and I'm also involved in NHS. And within the community, I'm involved in Patch, which is a group we help healthcare providers and teens communicate better with each other and do presentations and stuff like that. And I was also involved with AmeriCorps this summer for the school district, and that was a lot of fun. And I'm not entirely sure which college I want to go to yet. I'm looking at Augustana University pretty heavily, and I know I want to major in political science and economics.
Very good, Annalise. Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, Tim Deloy from Wausau West.
I'm Tim Deloy, and like Brad said, I go to Wausau West. I'm involved in DECA pretty heavily. I've been for all 4 years. I'm an officer, and I was last year as well. I'm also involved in Link Crew and NHS. Aside from those two clubs, I'm also involved in Fishing Club, which was a student-ran club that started last year. For sports, I'm involved in soccer, basketball, and track. And then this summer, I worked at Triggs as a personal shopper. Currently, I'm undecided for school and major, but I'm leaning towards a medical route and looking probably to go to medical school after a 4-year degree.
All right. Thank you very much. Boy, what a great group of youth Rotars. Thanks so much for being here with our club. And, you know, I'd just like to remind you that as we get into our program today, you know, you're active. We want you to be active participants in today's meeting. So if you have any questions of our guest speaker or any questions of club members or the president, feel free to interject and participate. Ask your questions, make comments. If you hear something that we're talking about and you're thinking, you know, that's really not the perspective most high school students have, click the unmute button and let us know, okay? So having you with us is a way for us to stay connected, okay, with you and the students that you represent. So thank you very much. Those were excellent introductions. And now I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Peck. And thank you. Welcome to all the youth Rotars. We appreciate you being here. Okay, I think we can move relatively quickly through happy and sad dollars so we leave plenty of time for our speaker. Andrew, you're going to do double duty, I think, and do both happy and sad dollars and then introduce our speaker. So I'll turn the floor over to you.
Well, thank you, Mr. President, El Presidente. Really appreciate it. So looking for any happy dollars. I know it was an interesting weekend for football. We have some postponed games. Packers play the Falcons tonight. Maybe those are some candidates for happy dollars. So any takers for happy dollars?
I got a happy dollar. I'm really happy about our program on October 26th. In your listing, it kind of sounded somewhat dry. It said WIPS programming. But in reality, we have the two bald guys. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you that follow them, they have a podcast every week. It's Dave Anderson and Eric Giordano. And I think it's going to be a great program. And I think they're going to share some stories from their show. And I'm just really looking forward to it. So mark that one on your calendar. That should be a good program for us, October 26th.
Great, Jeff. Thank you very much. Anyone else for a happy dollar?
One in. This weekend, my husband and I were up north. We were taking a nice long walk along Highway 182, and about 30 yards in front of us, a wolf crossed the road. And from the side of the road that we were on to the other side, and he went into the woods a little farther, but stood there and watched us as we walked by, as we watched him too. But oh my gosh, was he gorgeous. But to see a wolf that close up was pretty cool.
Thanks, Debbie. All right, any other takers? Well, then, if not, we'll move on to some sad dollars.
I'll put in a happy dollar, Andrew. I think it's happy more than sad, although my shoulder's hurting me a little bit. I got my flu shot this morning, so hopefully that doesn't mean I end up one of the statistics that we're seeing an uptick around Wisconsin. But so I'll put that in as a happy dollar, Deb.
I've got one too. Deb, don't bill me on this one. I hate having to explain that when I'm doing a credit card reimbursement. I'll just settle up later. But after several years of study, I got accredited airport executive designation a week ago, Wednesday. I'm pretty excited about that.
Congratulations, Brian. That's great.
Thank you.
Oh,
and
clap icon.
Andrew, this is John Townsend. I'm wondering if Debbie will let me throw a lateral to her about news from Lori Precknell, one of our members. Are you comfortable with that update there, Lori? Or Debbie?
Yeah, Lori, many of you are friends with her on Facebook, so you've probably seen this, but her surgery went very well. She's feeling very good, high spirits. She has another surgery coming up. But I did send her an email over the weekend, and she told me to just say hi, everybody, and that she's doing pretty well. As most of you know, she has Parkinson's, and that's what these surgeries have been for.
We have a happy dollar, Ellie and I do. because it's our homecoming week. So pretty excited about that.
Well, thank you and happy homecoming.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll move now to some sad dollars. If there is any takers for some sad dollars, it's unfortunate reality, the dichotomy of happy and sad. Philosophical question, but sad dollars, please.
We're a happy group, Andrew. Looks like no sad dollars. So.
Excellent, a lot of resilient people. If it ain't raining, we ain't training. Okay, guys, thank you very much for your time. I'll hand it back over to Mr. President, Matt Rowe.
I think it's coming right back to you, Andrew, to introduce our speaker for the day.
Okay.
I see him there kind of in the top middle of my screen, and I think it's your program. So are you on board to introduce him, Andrew?
Of course, Matt. Thank you so much, Mr. President. So I have the privilege of introducing Lee Rasch today. He is the former president of Western Technical College in La Crosse, as well as a former candidate for U.S. Congress. So he's here to discuss ethical leadership in the American democracy. Lee is an advocate of ethical leadership and servant leadership. And it's a privilege and honor to have you with us today, Lee. So I'm going to give you the floor, please.
Thank you, Andrew, and thank you to all of you in the club for allowing me to be today's speaker. And it's really a particularly good event for me in terms of the time to get a chance to hear from the next generation of leaders you have in your community. So I'm going to talk about elected officials, but what the presentation is really about is about developing next generation leadership and leadership development. I'm going to start out with a short video message. Hopefully we don't have any tech. All right. And I've got to exit full screen.
All month on C-SPAN, we're featuring the winners of our Student Cam documentary competition. Middle and high school students created videos answering the question, what issue do you most want the 2020 presidential candidates to address? The second prize High School Central Award goes to Trevor Conacher, a 12th grader from Bayport High School in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where C-SPAN's available through Spectrum. Their winning entry is titled America's Digital Divide.
I really asked myself the question, what's the fastest way to destroy a democracy?
At least one person is dead and several are injured tonight after protests and counter-protests.
That's not good. I'm seeing it on my screen, so let's just try one more time. And if we can't get it through, we'll skip the video.
Did you click that share screen button at the bottom?
I'm going to go back and go check that right now. Let me just make sure. I did, and now.
There you go.
All right.
Now it should be working, Lee.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm screen sharing. Where is the video?
Documentary competition. Middle and high school students created videos answering the question, what issue do you most want the 2020 presidential candidates to address? Our second prize High School Central Award goes to Trevor Conacher, a 12th grader from Bayport High School in Green Bay, Wisconsin, where C-SPAN's available through Spectrum. Their winning entry is titled America's Digital Divide.
I really asked myself the question, what's the fastest way to destroy a democracy?
At least one person is dead and several are injured tonight after protests and counter-protests turned violent.
The great divide in American politics shows no sign of closing. Many now questioning whether their information is truly safe on the social network.
I think the fastest way to destroy a democracy is to poison the information.
Within America today, there is one issue that supersedes all others, not only as a result of the physical ramifications, but because it simultaneously stifles sincere discussion, agitates hostility, and corrupts our culture. This issue is political polarization, the animosity that emerges from it, and the role that social media has in generating it. It would be disingenuous to suggest that political polarization hasn't existed since our nation's founding. But as a recent Pew Research study suggests, this ideological chasm is only widening. In 1994, only 21% of Republicans and 17% of Democrats held a very unfavorable view of the opposition. By 2016, those percentages had become the majority, 58% and 55% respectively. The sentiments that emerge from such antipathy are increasing as well, developing an inaccurate characterization of the political parties and the people that represent them.
So what is the source of this unnecessary partisan division?
It's hard to get good political information given the way the media covers politics these days. I mean, to cover something in 30 seconds or even a couple of minutes, that's really hard. Most of the issues we're facing are really complicated.
I think at this point, the genie's out of the bottle, right? Like the internet exists, social media exists. I think the problem is when it's used, for negative purposes, not to bring us together, but instead to tear us apart.
With the growing importance of social media in politics, what aspects of these platforms contribute to this divide?
The problem that I have with the social media is when it's censored or regulated, and that shouldn't be. The media should present the facts and allow the consumer to make their choices.
One of the problems we have with a lot of the social media and a lot of the new news is it encourages people to stay within their own little bubble. And you never see anything again, which may challenge any preconceived notion.
With the media, it's become an economic issue. In order for them to sell subscriptions, compete in this rapidly advancing 24-hour news cycle, they have to sensationalize.
The issue goes much further than the design of social media platforms. They are also vulnerable to political consulting companies like Cambridge Analytica, who maliciously steal and manipulate users' data.
Cambridge Analytica sought to identify mental vulnerabilities in voters and worked to exploit them by targeting information designed to activate some of the worst characteristics in people, such as neuroticism, paranoia, and racial biases.
I think protect their data, yes. I mean, that's a huge issue, right? Like we know Cambridge Analytica is an example. We know that they went after a subset of people. So they went looking for a population for which they could manipulate. And that's a huge deal.
I think if you only see ads that expose you to things that you already like, you never see a contrary viewpoint, it could be really problematic. It could give you a biased understanding of issues, but it also could just totally shut off another viewpoint.
And I always encourage people to do that. See the amount of data they have on you, the things you like, the things you've commented on. From that, you could build a pretty comprehensive profile of a bunch of people, in a sense, to change people's minds.
It's apparent that our culture's continued reliance on social media and the very nature of the platforms themselves has contributed to this political antipathy. So, what are the ramifications? How do we minimize them?
As a way of starting off class, I say, is gridlock good? A lot of them are like super frustrated by the lack of attention on issues that are important to them. And then when they think about it, they're like, maybe that's a reflection of the division that exists in the country. Or maybe that leads us to a better outcome down the line. Maybe it slows us down a little bit.
There are things being said that just absolutely turn people off. And there are things being said that absolutely turn people on. As a result, we've got more people engaged, more people listening, more people developing opinions, and that's only going to be better for this country.
There was this notion that the loyal opposition was the loyal opposition sort of thing, right? That even if people don't agree politically, we all have the same goal. We all in theory are moving in the same direction. And it's only been fairly recently that I feel like that has been I don't say broken, but that has, you know, that notion is framed.
I think the most important word in this interview actually is the word listen. You know, I was told one time, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth, use them proportionately. And I think as a society, we tend to fail. We tend to fail in doing that.
I think the second thing is the social media environment is when we allow the loudest voices to be dominant in the debate, it leaves, there's nowhere for any sort of meaningful dialogue.
Despite the ramifications of political polarization, one aspect remained clear throughout my research: the importance of respect, the ability to listen, and the willingness to challenge our own beliefs. As Andrew Breitbart said, politics is downstream of culture. Our culture, more than ever before, has existed solely within the digital realm, a realm that threatens to divide our country along ideological lines. That is why this issue is so significant, because only us, the people, have the power to solve it.
You can watch each winning Student Cam documentary online at studentcam.org.
Okay. Well, I like that video for lots of reasons, but I really like the fact that we have a next generation leader to bring forward these issues. And so let me go into the second part of this and see if I can get this share to work properly. So I'm a member of an organization called
Wisconsin, and we formed in 2018. It became my avocation after retiring from my position at Western Technical College. And LeaderEthics Wisconsin is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that's committed to promoting ethical leadership among elected officials. We believe that there are 4 characteristics that are key for ethical leaders: that they're truthful, they're transparent with public information, they're unifiers rather than dividers, and they work and they're willing to represent the collective interest of their entire constituency. Furthermore, we don't believe that ethical leadership is tied to any political party, nor do we believe that it's associated directly with particular legislative policies. You can be passionate about a policy. It's the way you bring forward your actions that determines your commitment to ethical leadership. Here's some information that reinforces the video message by Trevor Conacher. This is also Pew Research, and it shows that in 1994, the median positions between Democrats and Republicans were actually pretty close. In fact, it was the same in 2004 as well. And look at where it went in 2014. And you can see that the parties are drifting farther apart. And of course, this is the data from 2017. And the interesting thing about this, Pew did a study to try to determine if there were certain factors, certain characteristics that would contribute to this growing political divide. And they tracked factors like race, religious attendance, education, age, and gender over that span. And what they found is there was really no significance for any of those variables except for one, and that is political party loyalty. So you might ask, why is our organization focusing on ethical leadership? Don't we elect representatives, not leaders? And what does leadership have to do with the issues with political partisanship? And a couple of those things really stood out for us when we were forming the organization. First of all, we recognized that if you're an elected official, for good or bad, you're a role model. And with that comes a role that comes with leadership. I also am drawing on my personal experience. When I left my position in Illinois before I came to La Crosse, I was really interested in learning more about political silos and turf wars that happen in organizations. I worked at a great college in the Chicago area, but it was fraught with some of those problems. And so when I came to La Crosse, I wanted to learn more about this so that there was something we could try to do about that. And the research that I took determined that leaders really play a key role in this whole process. And when I talk about silos and turf wars, you probably are familiar with this because they happen in hospitals and schools and businesses where people at the top of the organization are battling, and people in the middle are battling, and people on the front line are battling. And it's a structural conflict that's very difficult to work through. But the role of leaders can be very important. Leaders can set overriding, compelling directions for an organization or a community. And as such, they can help people buy into the importance and the value of working together toward that common goal. But you can't state it occasionally. It's something you've got to be reinforcing continually so that people really understand the importance of buying in. Leaders can recognize teamwork and collaboration, and they can find ways to reinforce and develop more of that. They can also take positions to address people who are battling and not contributing toward those overriding goals. In fact, they can even try to remove people if that's necessary. But here's the thing. Leaders can do all of these things, and they can do a lot of really good work to bring people together. And I call this the heavy lifting of leadership. And when they do that, they can bring an organization together, but it's without a guarantee that you're going to have complete unity. But here's the thing. The research showed that if leaders contribute to the conflict, or if they ignore it and assume that somehow it's going to fix itself, all hell breaks loose. In fact, the irony with that is that, unfortunately, people in the organization or community, if that's the case, are debating the facets of hell. They're certainly not looking at the source or solutions. So that's interesting too, that we value ethical leadership in business and healthcare and education. If you read the book by Jim Collins, you're aware that those high-performing companies, they all were led by character-based leaders. They call them level 5 leaders. There's a national award that recognizes companies and organizations that are contributing high-performing results of the organization. They're all led by Band 4 ethical leaders. And of course, there are many companies and individuals who are on a path of leadership development following servant leadership. If you think about this, if you want to become an ethical leader, there are many options to learn more about this. If you're in an organization and you want to hire an ethical leader, you can search and you can probably find someone who meets those qualifications. This is true in business, healthcare, education, all these areas except the political arena. So here's a logical question. What can you do? What can we do? Well, I'm going to offer some suggestions as a start of that conversation. First of all, there are some large scale things we can do. I love this story about the badass grandmas from North Dakota. These are citizens. They had backgrounds in the Democratic Party and Republican Party, but they were concerned about the absence of transparency in the state of North Dakota. North Dakota had the governor and the legislature were all in the same political party, and they had a relationship with some of the big business in that area, and transparency was a real problem there. In fact, they were ranked by a national organization, they were ranked near the bottom of the 50 states in terms of transparency. So these citizens took it upon themselves to try to do something. And they held coffees and other events to try to get information. And they pulled together some suggested elements that would become part of a new constitutional amendment. And so in the spring of 2018, they brought that amendment forward and they started their campaign, and it was on the ballot for fall 2018. Now you can expect that the incumbent elected officials weren't too pleased with someone altering the rules in the state. And so these citizens were outspent 20-1 leading up to that campaign. But in the fall of 2018, the constitutional amendment passed. And it shows what average citizens can do when they're taking on something passionately because it's important. But not everything involves big scale things. And one of the things we do in our organization is we promote what we call the 2020 Citizens Guide, Ethical Leadership Among Elected Officials, practical things any citizen can do to try to promote ethical leadership. And there's a copy on the website. 1.0 was released late in 2019, and tomorrow we're going to have the public announcement about the release of the 2.0 version, which is some of the updated suggestions for citizens. Here's a couple examples. So we offer suggestions. You probably go to a candidate forum, or maybe you have a chance to have a conversation with an elected leader. So we offer suggestions of questions that you can ask that focus on those 4 characteristics of ethical leadership. Here's one. If you are elected, how will you represent your entire constituency, not just the simple majority that may have voted for you? If these questions aren't intended to have a positive or a simple, straight answer, the idea is to get people thinking about these perspectives. So they're not right or wrong answers, but they help the average citizen get some insight on where that individual is coming from. We also offer suggestions on how to interact on social media. You know, the whole social media environment is built on the concept of getting your data, finding out about you, and taking that data and using that to promote things that affect you down the road. And here's the thing. If you want to share on Facebook or Instagram that you love your grandchildren, or you are friends with these other people in your community, that's one thing. But if you're adding comments that are things that are unsubstantiated, and they may even be false information, you are contributing potentially to a much larger problem. You don't have to like or share anything. We also just offer some practical suggestions on recognizing people who work hard on ethical leadership in these concepts. Sometimes the most effective thing is to tell someone something like, you know, I don't always agree with your votes, but I know that you're coming to the issue from the right perspective, and you're doing the best you can in this, and I really respect that. You also can learn about other organizations that are committed to better government. You know, there's actually quite a bit going on throughout the country. I've listed some websites here. Ballotpedia has a lot of data on elections. You'd be amazed at the information that you can get on that site. It's kind of like a Wikipedia of elected dynamics. Braver Angels, this is an organization that's committed to giving people who are coming with strong conservative or liberal beliefs and put them in a position so they can better understand the perspectives of others and become more effective at listening to those perspectives. So it's a process to promote civility and civil conversation. These organizations aren't the only ones available, but I suggest that you take a look at some of those things so you can bookmark them and use them from time to time, and getting some insight from others that are working on these issues. Here's 2 websites I would encourage you to bookmark. All Sides and Media Bias Fact Check. Both of these are sites that are trying to verify, identify media bias if and when it's there, and then help you to become a better consumer. All Sides, actually they rate over 800 different media organizations. They rank them in terms of their rating from the conservative to the liberal perspective. They also will give you some information on some stories from the conservative, liberal, and moderate side. The idea is you're almost getting like a 3D view of some of these news stories that you're seeing. They also ask their subscribers to rate their ratings so that they have, they're not inadvertently giving a bias. They're checking themselves in the process. The other site is Media Bias Fact Check, and I really like this site because they are ranking organizations, over 3,000 organizations worldwide. And they also will give you that information and the ratings based on conservative to liberal perspectives. They identify also scientific sites or satire sites or conspiracy sites. They also do fact checking on the fact check organizations. Both of these organizations will give you, they admit that they will give you information to help you become a better consumer, but they recognize that all media has bias. You can also take a look at organizations like LeaderEthics Wisconsin, a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. Our membership is $25 a year. You get a monthly newsletter. The idea is to give you stories and examples of good ethical leadership in practice and some examples that are maybe not so good. But the idea is to help you get more information so that you can become a more and better informed citizen. So you may be asking yourself, what does this have to do with Rotary? Actually, quite a bit. In fact, in 1945, there were 49 Rotarians who were invited, and they participated in the formation of the Charter of the United Nations in San Francisco. In 1996, in New York City, at the opening session for the United Nations, there were Rotarians provided 250 delegates and their employees host homes over the Christmas holidays. When you think about it, there are so many issues that Rotary is involved with, worldwide issues that are directly tied to problems associated with unethical and abusive leaders in various countries. But here's some other things you can do. You can reach out to the next generation of ethical leaders, and you can support them in their development. For example, there's a group of students at the University of Wisconsin-La Crosse that are called, they call themselves the Students for Ethical Leadership Within Government, SELG. And students like this are mostly political science students, so they represent the next generation of staffers or candidates, but it's really encouraging to see them bringing forward questions about how to approach that career path on an ethical leadership platform. We also offer candidate development workshops. I know a number of chambers of commerce do this across the state, but we add an element that involves a platform on ethical leadership, helping people to understand how to approach that. And then we bring in candidates from both political parties who can provide some insight in from their experience and help in order to help the next generation of candidates. As a Rotary, you could bring in speakers. If you encourage people to participate in candidate development, that's a wonderful forum of meeting our vocational service commitment. But the most important thing you can do, take a look at how you vote. Recognize that your vote is a very important lever. Take a look at the person's commitment to those characteristics. And if you can't decide between two people, don't vote for either one. But do vote, because there are many other issues and positions on the ballot that are very important. And you may be also seeing some next generation leaders coming forward. So I want to thank you for this opportunity. If you have some time for some questions, I would welcome that. And thank you once again.
Thank you very much, Lee. Much appreciated. Very refreshing perspective on ethical leadership. You know, regardless of the political leaning, the focus is on ethics, and the focus is on you know, setting the example for the next generation. So, as you just mentioned, let's open it up for some questions. I know we're getting a little bit short on time, but if anyone has any questions, please.
Lee, this is John Townsend, a Rotary Club member here. And first, I'd like to thank you for the presentation. I think we all have this intuition that things are afoul in trying to sort out what the balance is and who's providing us the most objective and fact-based presentations on all the media. I'd like to put a plug in for that All Sides site, which I've used many times to get a sense of where they stand, right, left, or central. That often helps you educate yourself on where they're coming from. So again, thank you for your presentation and insights.
Well, thank you. You know, our hope is that people don't become skeptical that things can change. In reality, there are things we can do, but it starts with our own actions. And I like to share this story. When I was a freshman in college, I was taking a psychology class, and while the professor was giving a lecture, I was sitting there and I had in my left hand a portable ashtray, and I was smoking, and I was chain smoking. And I wasn't the only one. The other students were doing it as well. In fact, the air was blue. Now that didn't change, that expectation didn't change in one action. It didn't change overnight. It happened with lots of things. Legislation, state and national legislation. You had companies, schools, other organizations wrestling with this issue. It took many years for a change to actually occur. So today we may feel that the political air is blue, but the process of changing actually starts right here. And it starts with us. And it's those individual actions that we take can really make a difference. It may take some time, but it's well worth the journey.
Okay, other questions for Lee?
Lee, could you share that PowerPoint with our secretary, Debbie? So I didn't capture all the, like the qualities you mentioned, couldn't write fast enough, but I'd love to see that, just to review it again.
I'd be glad to.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're being recorded as well, correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
I was kind of looking at the website too, John. It looks like a lot of the information is available on the website for Lee's organization. So, okay. Well, thank you, Lee. Very informative presentation. We appreciate all your efforts and being willing to come speak to the Rotary Club of Wausau today. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Best wishes in your journey.
All right. Thanks. Last item then is our four-way test. Brian, our newly certified airport executive, do I have that right, Brian?
That's correct. Thank you.
Is going to take us home. Thanks, Brian.
And thank you to our esteemed president, Mr. Matt Rowe. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all. Have a good week.
All right. Thanks, Brian. Lee, we decided early on in the Zoom era that we weren't going to try to do that in unison. We've just selected people to do it individually. So nice try, though. That was good. Thanks, everyone. Have a good week. We'll see you next week.